Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
So Blue Moon Legends was a game that was put out with the Kosmos 2-player line and had a bunch of expansions. And most of those games did not have expansions, so you knew there probably was something here. Fantasy Flight Games decided to put it all together into one package and sell all the promos, all the expansions, everything in a really nice box. The box is still too big for what you're getting, but just be aware of that. And everything looks great. They kept the same artwork. They just kind of shrunk it down a little bit. It is what it is. I mean, the artwork is beautiful, but it's the same artwork. Do you need this over the Kosmos? You know, I did a video on those two. You can check it out there. We're going to talk just about this edition of the game. The game itself is really a tug of war to capture these 3 dragons, right? So you're trying to score enough to get past, and you're playing these cards down and kind of do a battling system. And there's a lot of these games out there, Yami and all these, Battle of Endines, all these kind of 2-player card games of people fighting back and forth and trying to get the most power. And there's some strategic elements to when you lose and when you want to win and when you want to double down, etc. in these battles. It's a very strong game. Now, some of the reasons why I didn't like it was, even though the artwork is fantastic, it's not the kind of artwork that I'm into. It really kind of detracts from the game to me and the people that I would play this game with. I don't have a lot of need for these 2-player battle game systems, and this is one of the better ones, granted. This is one of the more popular ones. I feel like this one kind of went under the radar. A lot of people didn't strike a chord with it, maybe because of the simplicity of it. This is one that some people really, really, really like. Now, as a caveat, yes, I'm purging this one, but every game I purge doesn't mean it's a terrible, terrible game. It just means it doesn't fit into my style. So the more you kind of fit into my style, after watching some of these reviews, you might say, hey, maybe this is something I don't want to check out. But there's individual reasons I'm listing here, like if you like these 2 battle play systems, you like the tug of war, you like the aspect of outthinking your opponent more than like what's the best card to play, then this will be something that you could really, really enjoy. Now, most of my 2-player games I'm going to play with are with my wife. She's not really into attacking games or player versus player confrontation games. So in addition, I don't have anybody to play it with, right? But this is a beautiful, beautiful version of the game. I think the game is really well done. I think the cards are balanced, and I feel like if you're into this sort of game, this is definitely one you owe yourself to check out. For me, it's a Purge, but this is one of those games where it's pretty good, and I would actually recommend it to people. So here's Blue Moon Legends. We're going to take a look at some of the components inside of it. You can see a very striking box. This is a standard size box to get the ride type style. You're going to get an advertisement for Fantasy Flight, which is 2013. I always like these, going back and see what games were released. What games did I forget about and which ones did I play? You're going to get 2 rule books. You're going to have an advance and the regular rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. You're going to get a board that will be in here. You can see one player will sit on one side, one will sit on the other. The artwork on it doesn't really matter. It does have the player turns and where the cards go. It's fairly nice. You can get some blue crystals. These are very big and chunky and pretty nice. You've seen these in a lot of games, I'm sure. And these will help you if you're playing, like, I think it's a campaign mode that you're going through if you want to play multiple games, and that'll be very helpful. I put the dragons over here in this side because the box is way too big for what you get. You're going to get a red one. These all have individual molds that you're going to see here. These are very big. These are really the points that you're going to have in the game. But it is a nice touch, and they came with the original version that was the Kosmos 2-player line. They weren't as nice as this, so they've kept that history of the game going, if you will. And they do have pretty good molds for Fantasy Flight games. I mean, I think they look really great. And they're going to have these cards that will be in it. You're going to have everything ever produced for the game. So some people are really going to like that. You can see through, there's tons of cards in here. But they have a nice little finish to them. You might want to sleeve these, actually, just because you just might want to. The font on it's going to be a little small. You can see the numbers. These are regular size cards. They're okay quality. There's no linen on it or anything. But you can see it has a lot of really good artwork. I believe all the artwork is just taken from the original game, just shrunk down here. But you can see the numbers and etc. that you have on it. The font on it, it's fairly good. It has some flavor text at the bottom, etc. Very good. So that's pretty much the components. Just the cards, the miniatures, the board, and the crystals. So you're going to get the 2 rule books. I'm not going to go on the advanced rules too much in this video. I think it just surpasses what I want to do. But if you want the advanced concepts, there is a legend book here that you can look at. Otherwise, you're going to have the main rule book, which just has a picture from the front of the page, picture of all the components, which is great, and the object of the game. And then when you go through it, you're going to have some of the core rules, kind of the backstory, how the cards work with Fantasy Flight does a good job. And then this is the entire game right here. This is what you'll be doing over there. Then it kind of breaks everything down. It's just a page and a little bit over here. These are really all the rules and details. Then how to win the game with an example of how to win. Then it goes through and it gives you like more concepts, discarding cards, kind of how that works. And then some individual rules for some of the decks that will be included in there if you want to get past the starter ones, etc. And a reference on the back. I found the rulebook to be really good. I don't hate on Fantasy Flight rulebooks like a lot of people do. I actually kind of like them. I like the 2-book setup. Works really well for me, and I enjoyed it with plenty of pictures and examples and numbers referring to things. Excellent to me. So here's the board of the game. You're going to have these dragons that will sit here in the middle. It just kind of represents the city. These are used if you want to keep track of wins, if you're going through like the campaign mode or whatever. Otherwise, players are going to be having these cards in their hand, and what they're going to do is any cards that might have beginning text on them, you would read off, what would happen at the start of a turn. And it has a power. You just activate the power. Very easy. Most people have done that. On your turn, you can choose to fight, continue a fight, or whatever, and you'll put these guys down here and you can see the stats that will be on here. Then you can play like a booster card and boost things up, and you're going back and forth as you play cards. And a player has to have your power when it comes back to you. So if I play this, they would have to play a card to theirs that would either equal or exceed my power. If not, they would have to retreat. And then if they were to retreat, one of these dragons might come over on my side of the board. Then if they won the next fight, maybe the dragon would go back, etc. So, you're trying to get all 3 dragons on your side in order to win the game. Or if it wins because the draw deck runs out or somebody doesn't have enough cards, and whoever has the most dragons. In this case, this player would win versus this player. But most of the games, you're going to try to get 3 of the dragons in order to win. It's a very simple game. You continue the combat on your turn. You can add a booster card to it, and all these cards will do different things. You can see a giant octopus, a kraken that can come out. These are the water people. And then you have, if I have more than one active storm support card during my beginning phase, I immediately attract a dragon. So that's something that can happen at the beginning. Commanders that will come out, people, and you just kind of battle back and forth. But it's very simple because you can play one card and a booster or support card on your turn, and then that player, in order to continue on in the fight, they can always retreat if they choose to. Most people won't. But you have to exceed or match the power that's played, otherwise the person goes. And you just kind of go back and forth. Now, there's leadership cards you can play that can change things up a little bit, etc. But for the most part, you're playing a single card each time and keeping those battles going. First person to get 3 dragons is your winner. Who should play this game? Who should buy this game? Anyone who is into those confrontational games, that tug of war. You don't mind the combat system, and it plays 2 players only. You're going to enjoy that aspect of it, that kind of mental gymnastics you're going to be doing. Not only always play the best card or make the best move, it's what you need to do against your opponent, how you're going to bluff your way to victory by defeating them in combat as you go to win that tug of war of those dragons. If that sounds interesting to you, then this is a very, very good game. So one of the top games in its field. Wasn't one necessarily that fit our playing style, but one I can easily recommend for someone who it would. For me, it's a Purge, but I think a lot of people are going to like this game.